When I left my body, it didn't hurt. And when I took that last breath, it was like, now I can really breathe, like really breathe. And it was the most incredible, exhilarating feeling. It was like, oh, this is me. This is really me. And it was like I was expanded. I remember just like watching everything unfolding. I remember seeing the ambulance was still driving there, almost in the parking lot, coming to me. They get my body on the stretcher and they start doing life-saving measures to get me to the hospital. I just remember watching all of this almost like it's a movie and having these feelings like, oh my gosh, these people really care. They don't even know me. Look how hard they're trying to help me. I now started admiring my body and going, yes, I'm grateful for that body. I'm grateful for my time here, but that's not really me. I'm Erica McKenzie, and I'm from Arapahoe, Nebraska. Small town in Nebraska, actually a town of about 1,000 people. No stoplights in town or anything. You didn't lock your doors. In fact, you left your keys in the ignition in your car most generally. It was very much this small community. Everyone knew everyone. Looking back now, there are so many things I actually do appreciate about it. I was able to participate in everything I wanted to. I was the editor of the newspaper. I participated in plays and in the marching band and in jazz band. There came a point when I was in junior high where all of a sudden it mattered what you looked like and you were judged for it. And I, for whatever reason, was the person that put a tremendous amount of pressure on myself. And so I just kept thinking, okay, well, I'm not good enough. That's why people are making me feel bad about my appearance and myself. And so what can I do to change it? I began to do things to my body to try to change so that people would like me and they would let me in their friend group or fit in, and bulimia. That's what my thing was at 12 years old. Looking back now, I was never overweight, even though I saw myself like that. It didn't matter how much older I got, high school, college, being a young bride, then going on and being a mother, working in the workforce. There always seemed to be, at times, this judgment where I would feel the pressure again to, oh no, okay, I'm not good enough. What am I doing wrong? And that was the bulimia pattern. It just stayed with me, and that's how I coped with it. Fast forward to my first nursing job out of school was for some doctors that prescribed phentermine, fen, which is a class 5 narcotic. It's a diet pill. And back then it was all the rage, and people were taking it for weight loss. I never experimented with drugs growing up or anything, just had alcohol. And so I didn't realize how addictive it is. And I didn't even see it, that it was controlling my life. I was completely addicted to it. And it was an awful secret that I hid from everybody, including my husband. Because this pill you should not be on long term. The way it was pharmaceutically designed, it was to be on for a handful of months under doctor supervision. It was never designed to take for 9 years. And I found a doctor who was willing to prescribe it. Unfortunately, the biggest side effects of this medication are you don't eat, and then I didn't sleep at all. I mean, this medicine, I guess what they say now, having an opportunity to research what I was on years later, it's equivalent to like speed. It makes you just go, go, go. You just keep going. You're never tired. Well, try to not eat or sleep for nearly 9 years. I could start to feel physical side effects and problems from taking the medication. And it was terrifying, especially like breathing, where I would lay down to try to fall asleep at night. And I just feel myself finally drifting off, only to be violently awoken, getting out of bed and jumping up and down, trying to get my breath. It was like my lungs weren't remembering what to do. And it feels like it's starting to shut down. It's terrifying. Over and over, I lived this scenario. I was doing very manic things. Like I'd be out in our yard midnight with a floodlight, digging a trench to make a homemade waterfall thing run through the back of our yard. Well, if you're a landscaper, I guess that's, relevant. But if it's 1 a.m, midnight, that's not a normal thing to do. There were so many behaviors that I started having because of not eating and sleeping. I mean, it's just very manic. And my husband was just so worried, and he didn't understand what was going on. And like I said, I denied everything. I wouldn't let him in. I was embarrassed. I was so ashamed.
Do you believe what she said? Can people die and come back?
My husband sat me down one day. He had had just about enough. That night before was especially bad, where I really thought I was dying. I couldn't catch my breath, and I was having a hard time even jumping. Usually jumping up and down would at least restart things. This time it wasn't really helping so much. So it was kind of a difficult night, and I was up most of the night. Matter of fact, I don't really even think I went to bed that night. And so then he sat me down the next day. He was exhausted. He said, "You know what? We can't continue like this because I have to provide for our family, and the kids need you." I should have just told the truth. I should have said, "I'm not okay. We need to get the ambulance. I need to go to the hospital." That's what I should have done. But again, I was filled with so much shame. And, I said, I'm okay. I said, I probably just need really good sleep. And he goes, "Okay, well, you got one of the kids in your bed waiting for you, so that's not going to happen here." I mean, we had a tiny house, And he's like, "Are you okay to drive?" And I just hid it from him. I said, "Yeah, I'm totally fine." He goes, "You know that Holiday Inn or whatever down the street? He's not even a mile from our house." He goes, "You will go there and you're going to check in right now. And you're going to call me when you get to the room." He says, "You are going to sleep. You need to get rest." I drove, like you said, to that Holiday Inn, got to the counter to check in. The gal behind the counter says to me, "I am so sorry, honey, but we have no room at the inn. We are completely booked. There's a convention and, there wasn't a lot of hotels out there at that time." I started getting really lightheaded, almost like I just couldn't even, it was like she was blah, 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 blah. But she was trying to be helpful and explain that there was another hotel about 2 miles up the road. But part of me was feeling like I'm going to pass out. And when I do, I can already feel I can't breathe. My lungs, I'm having a hard time, but this time I'm not going to wake up. I'm just crying at this point in the car. I'm like, "God, I can't do this." I just said, "Please get me to this next hotel, God, and I will rest." I finally pull into this parking lot of this hotel. I was very lightheaded walking and checking into the front desk there. When the door shut, I said, "Okay, I like to take baths. It's very relaxing. Maybe I should just take a nice warm bath and calm down. And then maybe calming down enough will get me in this kind of a Zen space that I can actually lay down and take rest." I began to run the water to fill the bathtub. All of a sudden, I get this impending, doomful feeling that if I get in the bathtub, I'm going to pass out in the bathtub and I'm going to drown and no one's going to find me. It was this feeling that I didn't have time even to shut the water off. It was like a ticking time bomb and I was running out of time. I just found all of the energy that I could, and I fled out of the hotel room, and I didn't have my car keys, didn't have my ring, didn't have my identification, didn't have shoes on. I remember running across a parking lot, and I get to the very last lane, and a car almost hits me. The gentleman gets out, and he runs around to me. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" You know, and I knew this was my lifeline. And I'm crying and I'm trying to get words out to make sense. The man spoke very broken English. I was having a really hard time understanding him, but I knew he wanted to help me. And he opens the passenger door for me to get in. And sure enough, I look down on the passenger seat and I have to pick this book up because I gotta be able to sit down, and it's a Bible. He had a Bible. And that was God's sign that I should go with him, is what I felt. I had this peace in my heart. So I got in, he shut the door, he's like crying because he almost hit me, you know, and he doesn't really understand English well. And I'm trying to communicate with this man that I need to go to the hospital, I need help, I'm dying. And so he drives up the hill, it's not even a mile away, and he pulls into this parking lot. There's this really tall and big man in the parking lot waiting for us. They both had to carry me out of the car and into this building, which was a church. So he had taken me to his church, and that was the pastor that was helping him. He said, "Are you okay? Who are you?" Okay, I couldn't remember my name. I didn't know. He kind of got really pale. He knew I was gonna die. He knew it. And he slammed his fist on the desk to get my attention. He said, "Do you believe in God?" I just remember saying with every breath, "I believe in God." And when I said that, all of my breath left. It was so forceful. I was up on the ceiling. There was no way for me to get back in my body. I just had to let go. When I took that last breath, it was like, now I can really breathe, like really breathe. And it was the most incredible, exhilarating feeling. It was like, oh, this is me. This is really me. And it was like I was expanded. I remember just like watching everything unfolding. I remember seeing that the ambulance was still driving there, almost in the parking lot, coming to me. They get my body on the stretcher and they start doing life-saving measures to get me to the hospital. I just remember watching all of this almost like it's a movie and having these feelings like, oh my gosh, these people really care. They don't even know me. Look how hard they're trying to help me. I now started admiring my body and going, yes, I'm grateful for that body. I'm grateful for my time here, but that's not really me. I remember feeling this angelic presence to my right. It just enveloped me with love, and I let go, is the best way to say it. As soon as I had this like ease of letting go, then that's when I started moving up this tunnel. Now I'm traveling at like this supersonic speed. It was exhilarating. And it was filled with so much love that there were so many moments when I was in the tunnel that I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can fit any more love into this feeling because I'm gonna burst. I didn't see the angel physically with my eyes, but I didn't need to. The best way to describe it is the human five senses that we recognize here on earth in our bodies are confining. When I was in that form without the human shell, they weren't confined anymore. And so I was able to see not just like with these eyeballs, right? It was bigger than that. It was so much bigger. So I could see and feel the angel, and the angel was so incredibly beautiful and had this connection to me. It was like, how can one person get that much love? We traveled for quite some time, and I felt the angel presence leave. That was replaced with this overwhelming presence of God. God was with me and all around me, and it was the stars everywhere. I was in the galaxy. It was the most incredible feeling. And at the same time, I'm like, wow, I'm home. I knew I was home. That was home, not Earth. For the first time, I had that realization. It was so incredible to be with God in that presence. And I remember having these just so many feelings and thoughts flooding through my mind, almost like a Rolodex. And God was, as soon as I would think it, God would answer it. And God would fill me with more love. And so there's this big teaching moment that's happening. And then I remember God telling me to look in front of me. And I'm looking in front of myself and I'm admiring all the incredible stars. And I'm seeing something. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. The stars are doing something. And they're lining up. And they made a huge, huge curtain. And I saw the stars part and 3, 2, 1 countdown and life review of Erica McKenzie. And then the first picture on this movie screen was me in the hospital. My mom was holding me. She had just given birth to me. We start at that moment of the day I was born, and we proceed to live all of these moments in my life. One of the first memories was I was losing my first tooth in first grade. And then I remember in third grade winning the spelling bee, and then graduating from high school, getting married, becoming a mother. And I remember as we were reviewing them, I'm getting filled with all of this love and admiration from God and teaching moments that were all positive. I'm relishing in that. I'm basking in that. I just am starting to feel like, though, this human rational side of me, which was, wait. I was raised in a Christian home where we were taught that you would be judged. You were a sinner. So then I start panicking and I'm thinking, okay, God is not judging me. Why am I not being judged? Well, remember, God and I, it was like telepathically. So I am having these thoughts and God's reading my thoughts. And he replaces it with love. God loved me. God did not judge me. Judgment is the opposite of love. That is what God was trying to start to make me understand. We have no right to judge anybody else, and we have no right to judge ourselves. If you judge yourself, you can't love yourself. I had it all wrong when I was on earth. I wasted so much time judging myself, and look what I did to myself, the toxic behaviors that I did that led to my death. I remember God telling me to look to my right. Then all of a sudden in front of me appeared this big pair of eyeglasses that you wear to see, except for this wasn't normal size. This was the size of like a small Volkswagen bug vehicle. It's the best I can describe. And God told me to put them on. And there was no way. How would I be able to put those on? I mean, they're the size of a vehicle and I'm a person. I remember my hands going and picking up these huge glasses and drawing them near to my face and putting them on. And you know, by the time they got to my face, I put them on, they fit me perfectly. And God said, now look. This time I saw everything that wasn't in the first life review. And God explained to me that these are the things that you're going to be seeing that are important to Him. One of the first memories, I was in Brownies when I was a little girl, and we were at the rest home. I had wandered off from the group. They came to find me, and I was in one of the residents' room, and I was sitting on her lap, and I was brushing her hair, and I was singing Jesus Loves Me, that song that you learn in church, to her. And the amount of love that that woman felt back was just so powerful. Just that little thing that I did. So many times, we don't pay attention to those things that we're doing that really are making the difference. We don't put value to them. We don't think they are important. And here God was teaching me through this whole lesson that that's all that matters. My eyes were being led to look up, and I'm looking past the stars, and I see appear in front of me bookshelves. The biggest bookshelf you've ever known, because it's so tall that it's disappeared past, the farthest point that I could see. Appeared on all of the shelves were gifts. They were all so individually, incredibly different. And then God started telling me, Erica, when you were born, I gave you the gift of patience and I gave you the gift of beauty. I didn't think I was pretty. If I was, like I told God, it's not true. Why was I treated like that? He gently stopped me in my tracks and corrected me, and he said, again, when you were born, I gave you the gift of patience and I gave you the gift of beauty. And in that moment, I understood for the first time what the gift of beauty really means. It's not what I was taught to believe, what mankind believes. This was what God believes is beautiful. And the beauty came from within my heart. My heart. And it was such a relief for the first time to really not just hear it, but to feel it, that I was enough. All of a sudden in front of me appears the earth. It's huge. And it's close enough that I can feel all of my family and friends. I see something that doesn't look natural. I remember telling myself, gosh, what is that? And no sooner am I thinking, oh, what is that? And studying it, I'm able to laser focus on it better. And I can see that it's flames of fire. And they're engulfing the planet. So now I have this impending sense of fear, almost uncontrollable fear. And I'm terrified. And I say to God, oh my God, my kids are down there, my family, my friends, the animals are, God, help. Look, there's flames, there's fire. I'm seeing these flicks of this almost mercury consistence. And they're shooting off between all the flames all over the earth. And I'm watching them, and they're coming up, and they're going above me, and now they're going past me into, I wasn't allowed to turn around at the time, but I knew they were going into heaven. There was hundreds and then thousands. God explained to me, those were the souls. They were lifting off, and look at them, they were all unscathed from these flames. Every time it was going past me, I had this flood wash over me of relief. I was so relieved that they were saved. This is the first time that I ever felt sadness, tremendous amount of sadness from God. I find myself trying to comfort God, saying, no, God, look, they're okay. They're fine. It's okay. They're all going into heaven. They are fine. And he said to me, look. So I had to look again. And what I didn't see the first time, I'm now seeing there was these little flickers, the souls that weren't lifting off. And he was sad for them. They were being left behind. This sadness from God was so strong. It was not like him losing one child. It was like him losing so many children all at once. That's how profound it was. And I said, no, you can help them. I know you can help them. Help them. And he said, Erica, when you were born, I gave you and I gave each of my children the gift of life. But with the gift of life, hand in hand, I gave free will. And free will is the choice. Everybody gets to choose if they want that love connection with God. The love connection is the energy, what is needed our souls, when we are there, the fuel is the love connection. If we choose the love connection, the free will, they are lifted off. That's the energy they need. All of the focus from him, his heart at that moment, was hurting for the ones that were choosing not to have that connection. After the very last soul flew past me and I knew went safely into heaven, I expected that this was my time to be able to go in and join everybody, all the souls, into heaven. And I remember just like super excited and feeling like running, like I'm going to start running now into heaven and, join everybody. And I was like frozen in my tracks. Almost God stopped me and said, oh, no, child, you're not staying. And he said, before I send you back, I want to have you take your gifts of, patience and beauty, and I want to give you 2 more gifts. I'm going to give you knowledge and wisdom. And when you go back, I want you to be quiet and listen to the people that I put into your life. And then when you speak, you will take patience, beauty, knowledge, and wisdom, and you will change millions of people's lives. And I remember trying to quickly come up with an argument to rebuttal that with God. But before I could even argue it, I remember feeling like I was pushed into this tunnel. This tunnel was completely the opposite of what I came up to heaven in. This was extremely slow. And I remember hearing something, but it was very faint. I had to really listen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's human voices. And it was terrifying. Everything was negative. It was anger-filled, loathing, hate, just the most awful things you would ever hear in conversation. And then I'm feeling something now from the bottom of me. I can feel hands all over me, pulling on me. I am right hovering above them, and they're trying to pull me down because I'm the only light they can see. And I'm terrified because with every sense that I can feel their fingers, it's draining the life force out of me. I was not home. God was not there. And the only thing I could do is I cried out to God. I said, God, help me. Please help me. I love you. I don't want to be here. When I cried out to him, I had established that love connection again. And as soon as I did that, I could feel all these hands reluctantly lifting off of me. They couldn't pull me anymore. And I was now lifting back up high enough that they couldn't reach me. I had this connection with God the whole entire time. It was the fuel propelling me back to earth. And eventually, I found myself hovering over my body in the emergency room, and I knew the inevitable, which was I was going to have to go back into that body. I looked down at my body. I didn't have enough time to even think or argue anything else, and I got forced right back into my body. I regained consciousness, and I look at my husband, and he's just so grateful. And I could feel the love from him and relief. And I remember, oh my God, I have got to tell him what just happened to me. I've been to heaven. Man, okay, well, I had no voice. No voice. Nothing was coming out of my mouth, no matter how hard I tried. And they're like, rest, the nurses, they're giving me the IV fluids and everything, like, don't even try to talk. They're like, you need to rest.